Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is December 25th, 2024, and Barcelona plan 80 million euros in player sales this upcoming summer. Also, the club have eyed Tyrick Mitchell out of Crystal Palace. And finally, Barcelona are planning an important meeting with Robert Lewandowski in regards his future. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast where we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting a discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight to the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to head to Gold Kids Kit Bag of Fanatics. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. All right, let's begin with the news. But first, let me wish all of you a Merry Christmas. I hope you're enjoying this day with your families and your loved ones. And, well, hopefully you got plenty of good gifts. But anyways, Merry Christmas. Let's begin this news. Let's begin this podcast with bad news, concerning news, troubling news, because it looks like the return to the Spotify Camp Nou could be pushed all the way to the next season. As you know, our beloved fortress, the Camp Nou or the Spotify Camp Nou, is currently undergoing major renovations. It's been going for about, I think it's 18 months, something like that. Started back in May of 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So we're coming up almost on 2 years. But as you know, Barcelona were planning to come back to the Camp Nou this year, around November, December, they were saying, because, the 25th anniversary, it was eventually pushed to December 22nd, which was the Atletico Madrid match. Then Barcelona said, no, let's do it in February because the UEFA prohibits teams from switching stadiums within the group stages. So Barcelona would have to play at the Olympic Stadium until the end of group stages, which end on January 29th, and play La Liga at the Camp Nou. So Barcelona said, no, let's return in February so we can play both La Liga and a Champions League at the same stadium rather than running two stadiums. Well, now it seems it's not going to happen until next season. Looks like there are plenty of delays in the construction. And as such, Barcelona might not be able to go back to their stadium till next season. And this is the kicker, and this is the troubling part of this news, which is already troubling. The reporter Adrian Sanchez, someone who is based in Barcelona, has been hitting the ground and talking to workers around the stadium and at the stadium, because so far the club are not confirming or denying anything. No one at the club is daring or is willing to give a date. And as such, this reporter, Adrian Sanchez, was talking to employees of the stadium, and some of them have told them that the return might not happen until November of next year. That is a long ways from the initial November return date of this year. That's a whole year delay. Now, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the latest is next season and earliest February, like the club had initially decided. But let's wait and see, because after all, there are three things that are certain in this life: death, taxes, and delays in major construction projects. Now, the only thing that, well, not the only thing, but one of the things that bothers me about this whole Spotify Camp Nou, as you might recall, when Barcelona negotiated the construction contract with the Turkish company Limac, they added punishing clauses, where for every delay in a certain phase of the stadium, Limac would have to pay Barcelona 1 million euros for each delay. And Barcelona recently announced that even though the construction was delayed, they were not gonna charge that fee because they have a good relationship with Limac and they want to keep it that way, which to me, I think is absolutely ridiculous, Because if that's the case, then why did you agree to it? Why did you negotiate it? Why did you put it in the contract? If you didn't have no intention of punishing Limac for being late, then don't put it in the contract. But why write a contract with punishing clauses just to turn around and say, never mind, we're not going to enforce them? How are people going to take you seriously? So I think if construction is the return really delayed until November, I think Barcelona need to act on these clauses and charge them, because this is an extreme delay. We're not talking about a month or two. We're talking about a whole year. And well, there needs to be repercussions. Whatever the reasons for the delay were, if you agree to deliver a product by a certain date, then you have to honor your word and honor the contract. And if you don't, you can't, then there has to be repercussions. But anyways, that's the news. Looks like Barcelona might not return to the Camp Nou until next season, with some sources even saying until next November, which is very, very concerning. Hopefully that's not the case, but that's the news. I'm sorry to ruin your Christmas, but this news definitely ruined mine. But anyways, let's do the chat section, and then we will talk about Tyrick Mitchell, a player that has caught the attention of Barcelona. Henry Kojo says, I think we should try to sign Jose Gaya. That's interesting. Interesting why you say that. I'll be curious to hear your reasoning. So let me know down below. Why would you want Barcelona to sign Jose Gaya? And Ebrima says, yo, Mo, what's up, Ebrima? Thank you, my friend, for watching this. And thank you for your comment. And Mez says, making them pay for delaying would make them rush the project and make it not as good. That is not true. I'll tell you why. Because when you, as a construction company, you know how long something is going to take. So you do your calculations, your planning, everything, and you say, okay, this stadium is going to take me 3 years. You agree that it's going to be delivered in 3 years, and then it's delayed. You're not rushing anything because that's your own estimate. You're the one who said it was going to take you 3 years because, given your experience, you know that that's how long it takes. And usually, construction companies build in even a cushion. They think, oh, this is going to take me 2 years. I can do it in 2, but let me give myself an extra 6 months. So I'll say 2.5. So I put in a contract 2.5. If it's delayed more than that, then you did something wrong, right? And no, you're not rushing anything because that's how long it takes to build that. So no, it's not rushing. Plus, even if they were rushing, there are ways to check that. There's inspectors, engineers, architects. You can't just rush such a big project and make it bad because it would collapse on itself. So no, you can't just rush something like that. There's inspections that make sure that things are done well. There's engineers looking at these things. And again, there's no way that you can just, because if you rush something and it goes bad and a part of the stadium collapses or whatever, now nobody's going to do business with you for the rest of your life. All right, let's see. Yamidaro says, hey, Mo, glad I'm able to make it live. Merry Christmas, bro. Thanks for all you do, man. Thank you, my friend, for watching. And thank you for your Christmas wishes. Merry Christmas to you, too. And Merry Christmas to everyone watching. Again, I hope you guys had a wonderful day with your family and your loved ones. And hopefully you got some pretty good gifts. Hopefully Santa Claus brought you some pretty cool gifts. All right, let's get back to the news. And let's talk about Tyrick Mitchell, which is the player that Barcelona... Actually, no. Before we talk about Tyrick Mitchell, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Barcelona's plan to make 80 million euros in players' sale. Now, as you know, Deco in the sporting department, sporting arena, whatever you want to call it, have decided that, of course, this team needs to be reinforced. And the main priorities are, of course, number one being the left wing, where we currently don't have anyone. And, of course, the 2 fullback positions. They need someone that can compete with Alejandro Valde, and they need someone that can compete with Jules Koundé, because right now, Hector Fort, sure, he's promising, he's talented, but it looks like he's not ready yet. On the other side, Alejandro Valde doesn't really have any competitions. Yes, we have Gerard Martin, but he's not there yet, or even close, right? Now, sure, Alex Baye is doing well, but Alex Baye is still still alone, and Barcelona want to still track his progress and see whether by the end of the season he's someone that can actually compete with Alejandro Valde. So the main priorities are, of course, the left wing, the right back and the left back positions. And even though Flick has not complained, because Flick since day one has said, I will compete with whatever you give me, John Laporta, board of directors, Deco, have all recognized that. While part of the team's struggle is due to the fact that they have not given Flick a balanced squad. They haven't given him a squad with a deep enough bench, right? If Lamine Yamal, God forbid, gets injured, which he is, there's nobody to sub him. If Rafinha gets injured, there's nobody to sub him, right? If Kunde gets injured, there's nobody to sub him. If Balle gets injured, there's nobody to sub him, right? So there's a lot of deficiencies where there isn't a deep enough bench when it comes to talent. Again, this is something I've always made sure to clarify. It's not about numbers, it's about quality. Yes, we have the bodies. We have 2 or 3 players per each position. But the problem is the quality, right? The difference between the starter and the bench warmer is huge, and you don't want that. You want your bench warmer to be maybe not as good as your starter, but close to where if your starter comes off and your bench warmer comes on, the difference is not that big, right? So the board of directors, Laporta, Deco, they all recognize that they haven't given Flick a team with a deep enough bench. And as such, the priority this summer will be to reinforce those weak areas, the left wing and the 2 fullbacks. Now, of course, in order to do this, Barcelona are going to have to liberate space on their wage bill for financial fair play reasons so they can register whichever players they end up signing. Therefore, they have budgeted, because remember, these things get planned months ahead. The summer transfer market is 6 months away, but you still need to plan ahead. You need to count every single euro you have, and you need to figure out how much money you need to make, how much money you need to, spend, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're already planning this. They're already planning the summer transfer market, and they have done the math and calculated that they need to make 80 million euros in player sales. So they need to sell players and generate 80 million euros in order to be able to clear enough space on their wage bill to reinforce those critical areas, which again are the left wing and the 2 fullbacks. Of course, that begs the question, what players are going to be sold in order to generate those 80 million euros? Well, if you were to take a guess, we have plenty of center backs, so I'm sure some sales will go from there. Midfield, plenty of midfielders. I'm sure some players will be sold for there. So if we had to put names, if we have to guess which players will be placed on the market, Eddie Garcia, that's most likely one. As we know, Flick already opened the door to him. Andreas Christensen, because he's looking to leave and he's looking for a primary role. So that's going to be probably another player that will see his departure. Pablo Torre, he's a player who really has completely disappeared. He hasn't been getting any minutes. And then finally, of course, Ansu Fati. So if I had to guess what players will be put on the market to generate those 80 million euros, it'd probably be those 4. Eddie Garcia, Andreas Christensen, Pablo Torre, Ansu Fati. We'll see if any more players will be sold. But Barcelona have calculated that they need to sell 80 million euros worth of players in order to reinforce those key positions, left wing and the 2 fullbacks. All right, let's get back to the news, and then we're going to talk about Tyrick Mitchell. All right, let's see. Kurt says, hey, Mo, season greetings. I'm kind of feeling bad how we are 3rd at Christmas. Well, we are 3rd at Christmas because the team dropped their level. The team started believing that somehow they didn't have to motivate themselves and play with intensity against smaller teams. And that's how we ended up dropping a lot of points. We only got 5 out of 21 points. That's insane. That's insane. Now, Atletico Madrid, we played well. We lost. That happens. In football, sometimes you don't always get the deserved outcome. So that's fine. But when you look at Leganés, that's 3 points there that we should have gotten. Las Palmas, that's 3 points that we should have gotten there. Celta Vigo, we were up 2-0 at the 83rd minute. There was no reason for us to draw. That's 2 points right there that we dropped. Real Betis, same thing. We were up. Why did we let them catch up to us? That's another 2 points. That's right there is 10 points that we could have gotten. And right now, we wouldn't even care about the Atletico Madrid loss because we would have been 10 points ahead of them, 11 ahead of Real Madrid. But unfortunately, this team the players started believing that they're too good to try against smaller clubs. They dropped their intensity. They started, playing with half the intensity, and well, it cost us. Now, some people are saying, "Oh, it's fatigue." I'm sure fatigue played its role, but I wouldn't say that's the main reason. And the reason why I wouldn't say fatigue was the main reason, is because then if it was only fatigue, you wouldn't be able to explain how Barcelona played well in the Champions League against Brest, against Red Star, against Dortmund, how Barcelona thrashed Mallorca, and how Barcelona played really well against Atletico Madrid. You wouldn't be able to explain those 5 results, because those 5 results came in the 2-month period that Barcelona was not doing well. If it's actually fatigue, then your performance keeps getting worse and worse and worse, right? Because you're getting more and more tired because you're playing more and more matches. Remember, we haven't had any breaks in those, in those 2 months. So if it was fatigue, it would have kept going like this. But that wasn't the case, right? We won against Red Star. Then I think we lost against, I think that's when we dropped points against Rayo. Then we won against Brest. Then we dropped, Real Sociedad. So we win against Red Star, we drop points against Real Sociedad. We win against Brest, we drop points against Celta, right? We win against Dortmund, we drop points against Leganés, right? You wouldn't be able to explain the up and down, up and down. So I think it's more about confidence, humility. The team just lost its humility, became overconfident, and thought, Leganés, Las Palmas, I don't have to try against these teams. I just beat Bayern. I just beat Madrid. I just thrashed half the teams in La Liga. I don't have to try. So unfortunately, that's why we are third on Christmas. And Kurt also says, but I honestly can't see why we can't replace Lewy, or at least have someone to give him competition also, because he's the leading goal scorer, but he misses chances. Missed chances is how the team. Not sure what you're trying to say, but we'll talk about Lewandowski in a little bit, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But that's the last segment of today's podcast, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But Mes says there's talks about selling Araujo and De Jong. I hope we don't sell Araujo, though. It's not talks up to sell them. It was an ultimatum that the club gave them, because they're both haven't responded to Barcelona's offer renewals. And the club have pretty much told them, look, you have until the end of the season to respond. If you don't, we're putting you on the market, which I think that's a position that Barcelona should have taken a long time ago. But that's what the news is about these two. But anyways, let's do the news. And then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about Tyrick Mitchell. Because as I mentioned a few moments ago, Deco, board of directors, Laporta have all agreed that they need to reinforce certain important positions of the team, which are the left wing and the 2 fullbacks. And well, they have identified Tyrick Mitchell to be the competition for Alejandro Balde. Now, if you've never heard of Tyrick Mitchell, he's a 25-year-old left back. He's a product of the Crystal Palace Academy. He still plays for Crystal Palace. He made his debut with the senior team in 2020. And since then, he has been kind of on a rise, getting better and better with each season. And he has attracted the attention of some European clubs, including Atletico de Madrid, because his ability to contribute to the attack, coupled with his defensive skills, all that has attracted the attention of Atletico Madrid amongst other clubs. And now it has attracted the attention of Barcelona, especially because Tyrick Mitchell's contract with Crystal Palace expires summer of 2025. And so far, he has yet to renew. Looks like there's some problems with his negotiations, but he hasn't renewed yet. And as such, he could end up leaving Crystal Palace in the summer as a free agent, which this, of course, presents a great market opportunity for Barcelona, who are always in the market to sign free agents, given the current financial situation of the club. Now, Barcelona are, again, in desperate need for a left back that can compete with Alejandro Balde for 2 reasons. A, because if Alejandro Balde gets injured, there's nobody of quality to take his place. And B, because, they believe that Alejandro Balde has had some matches where he's dropped his form, and it's because he doesn't have that pressure of someone competing with him, of someone breathing down his neck, reminding him, hey, if you drop your form for 1 second, I'm taking your spot. Balde doesn't have that, so Barcelona recognize that, and as such, they want to bring someone to compete with him. And since Tyrick Mitchell is not only good, but he could also be free this summer, Barcelona have taken interest in the English defender as a possible competition for Alejandro Balde come this summer transfer market. Now, if you guys have seen Tyrick Mitchell play, if you've heard about him before, let me know your thoughts in the chat section or in the comment section if you're watching this when it ends. What do you think about Tyrick Mitchell as an option to reinforce the left back position? Do you like him? Do you not? Yes, no, why not? Let me know. All right, let's get back to the chat section. and see what you guys are saying. And then we will talk about the upcoming meeting with Robert Lewandowski to discuss the future of the Polish striker. All right, let's see. Henry says we need to see more of Pau Victor. Yes, we do, but also on the other hand, if Flick hasn't given him that much minutes, it probably means that he's not ready yet. But on the positive, though, it looks like maybe Pau Victor is getting there, right? Because we're starting to see more and more of him. Right? At the beginning of the season, he wasn't getting any minutes. Then we started seeing him like the last 3-5 minutes. Like I remember a couple of matches where he came on during the extra time. And then finally, the last few matches, we've seen him come on like for 10, 12, 15 minutes. So it looks like maybe he is slowly, getting better, growing, developing, and that Flick's starting to trust him more and more because we have seen him start getting more and more minutes slowly. So it looks like he's headed in the right direction. We'll see if we'll see more of Pau Victor during the second half of the season. And Nathan says, Mo, Fermin is not the same player anymore. He should be sold. I don't think so. I think Fermin was injured for quite some time. He's only played a handful of matches, and to already, decide to sell a player because of a handful of matches, I think that's way too premature. If we're going to decide whether to sell or keep Fermin, I think that's something that should be done at the end of the season. Right? We all have bad matches. We all have bad days, to go, oh, you had a bad day, that's it, done. I think it's unfair. I think the best thing to do is wait until the end of the season, see how he does. And if by the end of the season he's still not good enough, then sure, sell him. But, the guy has barely played. Kurt says, we had a very great game last outing, but our finishing wasn't there, and that's our weak point, in my opinion. In the last 5 games, had we converted some of those chances, we would be first. I only think that was our weak point against Atletico Madrid. I don't think our finishing has been a problem the remainder of the season. Again, Barcelona are the highest scoring team in La Liga with 50. They're the highest scoring team in the Champions League. You don't get to be the highest scoring teams in 2 competitions if your problem is converting. I think the converting problem was definitely there against Atletico, but I wouldn't say the whole season. I think the other matches against Las Palmas and Leganés, we were just not playing good. And when you don't play good, you don't generate that many chances, and you cannot score that many goals, right? But anyways, Triple X says, Mo, Laporta should pull every strings to bring Rafael Leao for left wing, Jonathan David for free, and quality fullbacks for competition. It's not about pulling strings. It's about money. And if the club doesn't have money, there's not much we could do. I would love to own a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I could pull all the strings I want. It's not happening because I cannot afford to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. So it's not about pulling strings. It's simple math. It's simple money. There's no money to buy them, so there's not much we could do. And Kule 767 says, Lewa out, Frankie out, Balde out, Ferran out, Eric out, Martin. Wow, let's just get rid of the whole team. All right. Milian says, yes, we are highest scoring, but we also have most big chances missed. Do we, though? I'm not sure about that number. Anyways, all right, let's get back to the news. Let's do the last bit of segment. Speaking of Robert Lewandowski, because Barcelona are planning an important upcoming meeting with the Polish striker in February after the winter transfer market. Now, Lewandowski signed a 3-year contract with an option to extend for 1 more. Of course, those 3 years expire at the end of the season, but the contract does have an automatic renewal clause that if Lewandowski plays 45 minutes or more of 60% of all matches in La Liga his last season, then it would automatically renew for 1 more season. And given that Lewandowski has pretty much played every match, I think there's only 1 match where he didn't play, but he's played every single match. It looks like Lewandowski is on his way to trigger that clause and automatically extend his contract for 1 more season until the summer of 2026. Now, the meeting is going to be about whether the club actually extends his contract, not like automatically through the clause, but actually extend it, or whether they keep it as is. Now, Hansi Flick and Deco are very happy with the performance of Lewandowski. They think he is, performing really well, and they believe that he has what it takes to continue performing really well until the summer of 2026, and that in the summer of 2026 would be the ideal time to look for a center forward. And that has to do, again, a lot with the club's finances, right? The club cannot sign players for 5, 6, 7 positions. They can only pick and choose what position they can sign for because there's not a lot of money to go around. So they think the left wing, the fullbacks, that's more of a priority. So they rather reinforce those and then wait to reinforce the center forward position until the summer of 2026, believing that Lewandowski has what it takes to to continue being Barcelona's striker. Now, this will all be decided by the end of the season. They want to see how he continues to perform. And of course, a February meeting will be very important because they want to sit down with him and Pini Zahavi, talk about this, let him know what the reality is. Look, you started out really good. You've had a dip in form. We want to continue seeing how you do. If you continue doing well, then we will extend your contract by one more season, delay the search for a striker. And if not, we're going to have to start searching for a striker much sooner. But just know, either way, we are going to have to look for a striker. So that's what the conversation is going to be about, to let Lewandowski know what the situation is at the club. Of course, Barcelona's favorite two options to replace him would be Victor Gyökeres and Erling Haaland, which at this point, and they're pretty much two impossible dreams. With, Gyökeres, they're saying he's going to cost upwards of 80 to 100 million euros based on the whole bidding war that's going to happen. And of course, Haaland, 120 at least, which is, again, impossible. But foreign meeting with Lewandowski that's going to be coming up in February. We'll see what transpires during that meeting. Of course, I will be here to give you all the news. So as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and, of course, the alert button so you always know when there's a new video. All right, let's see. Where did we live off? Oh, my man Fitzroy says, Demo, I totally forgot about the live. I just joined. Guess I'll just have to rewatch it when it's done. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for joining, even if it's late. And yes, I will be putting, of course, chapters in the timeline and timestamps in the description in case you do want to skip through all the discussion. So make sure you watch it. And Merry Christmas to you, my friend. And Kule says, Mo, genuine question. How do we offload Ansu? His wages are ridiculous and no one wants him. There's still interest from Ansu from Sevilla. Sevilla is still interested. Of course, he would have to reduce his salary by a lot because Sevilla is not going to be able to afford the 10 million euro salary that Ansu Fati has. And that's the thing. That's pretty much. There were some rumors in the English media saying that Manchester United could be looking at Ansu. So that might be an option. But wherever he goes, he is going to have to reduce his salary. But I think at this point, I think the player understands that it's probably better to go away. Because it's not happening at Barcelona. Flick is not trusting him. Flick is not giving him any minutes. And then with everything that has happened, with his super fast rise, then his multiple surgeries, his loans, I think he needs a fresh start. I think he needs a fresh start away from Barcelona. Just go somewhere else, clear his head, forget about everything that happened, and go to a club that's not gonna demand as much from him. Not a club with such high demands as Barcelona. And I think he needs that, and I think he understands he needs that. So I don't have a doubt that he will agree eventually to go somewhere and reduce his salary wherever he goes. And like I said, at Sevilla, Man U, they seem to be interested. We'll see what happens, but I think it's gonna happen. I don't think Ansu is gonna be, one of those players who's just gonna stay at Barcelona until his contract expires because he's young, he wants to play, and I just don't see him doing that to Barcelona, especially given that he came through the academy. All right, let's see. Noel says, Merry Christmas, Mo. Any Christensen news? The news is it looks like he is going to leave. Christensen wants a primary role, and he sees that that's probably not going to happen at Barcelona because, with the rise of Cubarsí and Iñigo, I mean, even Araujo hasn't substituted any of the two since he came back, even though it's only been a match, but still. So Christensen has probably, he's realized, hey, I'm not going to be a starter here. So he's looking to start somewhere else. So most likely he will leave, especially if we sign Jonathan Tah. Emmanuel, he says, it's great catching you live today. Keep on with the great work. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching and for your comment. And Cool says, Lamine Yamal is being hyped too much. Be patient. He could be bad. He could be bad because of injuries. I don't think we're hyping him. I think we are saying what we see, which is an incredible talent, a generational talent, who who at 17 years old is doing things that even Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo didn't do at 17 years old. So it's not that we're hyping him up. It's just we're not gonna pretend he's not what he is, which is an incredibly talented player. All right, anyways, that is all for this live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining, for watching, for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. Merry Christmas to all of you. I will be uploading another video in a little bit because there is more news. So I will see you in that video. Again, thank you for tuning in. And as always, peace, God.